On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast, we learned that we can all agree on a couple of things. We all like a good sticky note.
And devil baby mama drama. Let's do this. Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Liz.
And we're going to talk about season 12, episode 11, regarding Dean.
Yeah, sure are. Regarding Dean. That's what we're going to talk about. It's really an uplifting episode. Probably got lots of fun things ahead.
Totally uplifting. Ooh, yeehaw. So...
You're like, speaking of uplifting.
Speaking of uplifting, what's going on?
Oh, man.
I got nothing. I'm teasing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just all sorts of fun things. Like it's surprise dental surgeries. Those are always fun when it's like 8 a.m. and you're like, wait, there's giant needles coming at my face. What now?
I was not prepared for this.
Yeah, I may have also flaunted some dental rules about like, not having hot stuff. Like afterwards, I'm like, fuck you, I'm drinking this coffee. I don't care. I want them to just like no straw. I'm like, fuck you, more caffeine needs to go in my mouth.
Well.
Yeah, so hopefully I don't get dry rot. And then this is just like a PSA for people. Like, I don't know why like people don't know this, but like, you really shouldn't flush anything into toilet but toilet paper. I don't know, like, how many, like, bathrooms I've been to where I've seen people who've had to print out signs and say, hey, don't put anything in a toilet but toilet paper. And I feel like that should just be, and even then, like, maybe not, depending on where you're at. Like, pay attention to, like, watch what kind of toilet you're at. Maybe it's a really old one, or you're on a boat. There could be things, but...
There's rules.
Pay attention, because I had to pay a lot, like once again get a toilet fix because somebody not only was dumb enough to put like the flushable quote unquote like wipes, which you're not supposed to put in a toilet anyways, but they put the fucking Clorox wipes in there. Like the ones that you use to clean your counter that aren't even like quote flushable.
They don't even try to dissolve.
Yeah, so they're just like big old packs of like they've ripped out like big, and then of course like they're looking at me and I'm like, I did not do this,
and they're like, sure, I am not this.
You're getting blamed. Yeah, and then I was like, what? Stop judging me. Like it's not fair. Like I can't control what. And then of course I'm judging the person who did it because it's stupid. I'm like, are you the reason our bathrooms are gross?
Yeah.
Like if I go into a public bathroom and everything is clogged up and disgusting, and like, are you that person?
Yeah, I'm always shocked.
I mean, it had to
like
be
that.
Somebody, right? Like somebody's making those bathrooms gross, and it's not me. So it has to. Yes. And it's just like, and I just want to be like, this is also the same person who, and I'm just kind of like, what kind of house? Like, I want to be like, who raised you? Like, she's putting like pans in the dishwasher, knives in the dishwasher, just all sorts of things. Where like, did nobody like teach you how to be a person? Yeah, I was gonna say an adult, and but it's not an adult thing. That's just I learned that shit when I was a child.
Some people don't know that.
I would get beat if I did. I was like, who is doing the thing is like, so you're not doing your own damn laundry, you're not doing your own dishes, or you're not cleaning your own house.
Or you're doing it wrong.
Or the thing is like, again, that goes to who raises you. Because if I put, it was my responsibility to do dishes, but if my parents came in and found one of their pans in a dishwasher, my ass would have been beat.
Yeah, see, my household, I've got a couple that'll go in the dishwasher, like the ones that are not fancy, like whatever. My good pans, absolutely not. Those are hand washed.
Even what I won't even put whatever pans that were nice in there. No,
it's just, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I've gone.
I also don't. My dishwasher does not run in my current house, so it's. And
I lived without a dishwasher for a long time, so I get it. Yeah,
yeah. My dishwasher right now just is the place to dry my dishes.
I mean, which is really fine. Nice drying rack.
Yeah,
that works.
Yeah, I mean,
people are wild.
Yeah. So that's what I've been dealing with. Shit, literal shit. But just God damn it, people!
You did have to say I have to take care of some shit, and I said literally, and you were able to say yes. And you know that's
no, it was depending on shit. That was whether or not I was going to be on time tonight.
Yeah,
and I got to deal with. Yeah, got to deal with fun, like, new plumbers, because whenever you have an emergency, it's like I'm not really going to have my normal... The regular people. Like, I scheduled those out. Like, they can't really go through my warranty. And this, like, so this, again, like, didn't go through my warranty. But I do have a warranty in place, because my sink was sounding like... Hell was knocking. Yeah, hell was coming knocking from my pipes, and it sounded like that for a couple of days. And I put in a request through my warranty thing, and I haven't heard back. So I don't. But it stopped knocking. So I don't know if like I just exercised it.
Did the warranty people just call hell and be like, please stop knocking on her pipes?
Please, yeah, we don't want to send you something. I paid $89, and that was the fee to hell to stop knocking. I told one of my friends, like, I had longer left on that contract. They shouldn't be, the hellhounds start coming yet.
Too soon
for that Crossroads demon. So what shit have you been up to?
Not nearly as much excitement as you, apparently. I feel like I did stuff, and then I'm like, what have I done? I don't know. I went to a birthday party in a tracksuit, and then I watched sports ball partially, and it was boring. I mean, hold on. I enjoy watching sports. This specific game was boring, and but there was a couple of funny commercials. That's what I got. Okay,
sure. I did not.
I know you don't
participate in the Superb Owl party, and I couldn't find the Kitten Bowl, so I just gave up. And I don't think I watched any. I don't know.
A puppy bowl. There was a.
I think I was probably just researching shit for this episode, like you do. Yeah. So speaking of, and again, still no news on Padalecki front, and nothing new on the Ackles watch. Nothing's going on at Ackles, and he didn't do anything. He's normal and fine. And so, we're just going to roll into this. And so regarding Dean is a takeoff and regarding Henry, which was also a really depressing movie. And so I guess that's why they're like, remember when you were really depressed by that movie? And also, if you guys have not been following or don't know, and I don't always talk about this, like people experiencing memory loss is really close to people who live with people with dementia. So this episode is particularly extra depressing for me. And so, thanks Supernatural for really bringing some stuff home some traumas that I love dealing with. And so moving right along, and I promise I'm going to make this episode as fun as possible. This is season 12, episode 11. It first aired February 9th, 2017, was directed by John Badham, who we last saw direct Celebrating the Life of Asa Fox, and was written by Meredith Glenn. And we last saw her this season with her first episode, the one you've been waiting for, episode 5. Yeah. Okay. Oof. So we're going to start off with our recap, and it's witches. They're always spewing and screwing. Burn, witch, killing bullets. Y'all stop hating on witches so much. And then Rowena, heart. That's my recap. Rowena, heart.
Yeah. That's accurate. Accurate recap. Yeah. Recap of the recap. Yeah. So we start at night, and there's this guy that's obviously injured. It's nighttime, and he's running through the woods, and he makes a phone call. He's like, just get out of there. And like, we don't know what's happening, but we see Dean in the woods now chasing him and shooting at him. So we're like, ruh-roh. And the dude does some sigil on a type thing on a tree. A glyph. I'll correct myself now. On a tree, and he puts his hand on it, and this purple light flings Dean, and he gets knocked out. And then he wakes up in the morning cuddling with a bunny in the woods on the ground.
Yeah, and before like he does that, Dean says some stuff, and that kind of sets us up for who he was going after. Besides the purple glyph, which obviously and the recap of the witches. He says things that just show like kind of how the show views witches when he calls them you people. And so, it says that you're never going to learn. You're always trying to run, so I think that's just, so they just wanted to call out there. But yeah, the bunny was really cute and it did not bite Dean.
And he was cuddling it. It was cute. And we find out we were in Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Which maybe he gets some hot springs in. I hear those are nice.
I've been to Hot Springs. I have not been to Eureka Springs, but Eureka Springs is supposed to be a fun it's supposed to be a lovely small town. I know people go there and enjoy it. Anyways, and his cell phone's smashed because of course it is. And he hears voices because apparently he's like right next to the walking trail where like people are like on a jog.
He's not deep in the woods. He's just in a park.
Just in the edge of like the trail at a park. I'm like, oh man. And he looks like he's all dirty. So he looks like a person who's sleeps in the woods regularly.
Unhoused. He does. And so a mom comes pushing up a stroller and Dean tries to reach out to her and she is just offended by him.
I mean, he looks terrible, but yeah.
But I mean, just no matter, I don't know. She's just like, and she throws some money at him and then it's just like, don't buy a drink with it. And then there's a dog come by, a dude comes by and he's got a floofy dog.
White floofy dog.
And he's like, I'm going to be nice to you because I'm a floofy dog owner. And all floofy dog owners are nice because we have floofy dogs.
Sure. And he lets Dean use his phone and he calls Sam and Sam's like sitting obviously like in a motel room because he's sitting with his laptop out by a window. So, and Dean's like, I don't know where I've been. I don't know where I am now. Oh, but wait, there's a sign for Waldo's Waffles. Maybe there.
So he does get some super fluffy waffles while he's there, and they look really good.
And he gets 2 stacks because he already ate one.
Yeah, it's smart. And his stomach's going to hurt. And I don't know how he's not throwing up. And Sam brings him painkillers.
So much sugar. Yeah, Sam hands him hands him the little bottle of pills, and Dean swallows that. And everybody's confused about where Dean's been. Dean's confused. Sam's confused. Apparently he had just gone out to pick up food and just didn't come back. And Dean's like, I guess I blacked out, and assumes he's hung over. Yeah.
Yeah, and Sam's trying. So Dean's phone is broken, right? Yeah. And so Sam is going to text Mary and Cass to contact Sam if they need him, which I think is weird because he's got a car full of phones.
It is weird, number one. I found that super odd, the fact they're very stressed about Dean's phone being broken. And also, if somebody tried to text Dean and he didn't answer, wouldn't they just automatically text Sam? Or why aren't they on a text thread? I guess not at that time, but still.
At that time, maybe we weren't texts were just they weren't quite starting, but I also immediately would do that. I'd be like, where's your brother? Why can't I get a hold of him? By the that's how that works. Mm-hmm. But what was even weirder is that Dean does not seem to remember who Kelly is, but he does enjoy saying devil baby mama drama, as do I.
Yes, I definitely enjoyed that as well. And he wants to say devil baby mama drama repeatedly. But they're like
my next album.
So Sam's like, look, you might need to pump the brakes on partying. I know being locked up like we were was terrifying and traumatizing, and I want to drink about it too, but you probably need to tone it down a little, bro. And Dean's like, no, party till I die, whatever. Anyways, so
just as he says that,
a couple of women enter the
I would use women loosely here because they seemed very young. I mean, and maybe it's just the way her hair is done because she looks much older when she's in the bar later. But when she walks in right here, she looks like barely way too young to be like being horrified to see Dean in the way that they're implying.
Yeah, so she's upset, and anyways, and he's yelling about waffles for Sam, and Sam's like, look, the morgue's about to open. We need to go to get the autopsy results. And Dean is like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, yeah, we're on a case. Duh. The accountant, Barry Gilman. But there was nothing at his house, so like, maybe he was just, death by his own money. So...
Right, because there was no hex bags, there was no sulfur, there was nothing that would indicate that this is a case. So maybe it's not a case. But as I get up to go, one of that girls comes up to Dean, and he doesn't remember her, and she slaps him.
Yeah, and Dean's just like proud of himself, saying it must have been an epic night, which is weird that like you'd be proud of not remembering, but okay. Anyways, different story. So they go to the morgue. They get changed into their fed suits and go to the morgue. And the coroner like walks in, delivers a giant evidence box and a folder and leaves. Kind of weird, but okay. And they're looking at the file and they're like, yeah, okay, we knew he suffocated. Not shocked by that. But the notes say to see an evidence bag. And they open the evidence box and it's a bag of bloody money pulled from the guy's stomach. And Dean is about to lose his waffles. So,
he almost wolfs his waffles everywhere, and which makes sense. But the stomach though was not only full of money; there was also a hex bag in there.
Mm-hmm. And apparently, the hex bag pumped him full of money, and he died choking on his own money, or whatever the magic money. I don't know. So they're like, okay, well, who would want him dead? And you're
going to skip it?
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, and so Dean has to bring out, you know what they say, more money, more problems.
I know. I wanted to, but then I was like, oh, I'm gonna skip it. But you're right.
No,
we had to do it.
You couldn't. All right. So they're debating about who would want just this accountant dead.
So in the car, Dean cannot remember words, and he cannot remember which key to use to start baby, and then he cannot.
I have been that hungover.
And then he cannot drive. Keys,
and you should not be driving. Whereas like the next day, just like, oh no.
Well, that's like when you're still drunk.
Yeah, it's just like
that's not even hungover. That's you're still drunk.
That is what Dean has. Like this is the
that's
one
true.
Day was not enough. You should still be in bed. This is where you just put the keys down. You slowly exit the car and you go back to bed and order some cheese fries.
Fair,
but no, that's not what's going to happen.
Of course, no. And he slams into a bunch of newsstands and pisses off a lady.
Well, he almost runs her over, so of course she's pissed. And Sam is just giving him some shit, but Dean does not look good.
No, and he's watching Sam. We see his point of view, and he goes all blurry. And he says, "Who's Dean?" Ruh-roh.
Yeah. So, back in the motel, Sam thinks that maybe Dean got hexed.
Yeah, because he's like, you literally forgot your own name for a second. And he's like, no, if a witch had gotten me, I'd be dead. Not Dory. We get a Finding Nemo reference. Thanks. It's a cute one. And Sam is kind of confused as to why he makes a Dory reference, but I liked it. All right. But he is like, all right, well, I'm going to test you. Name the members of Bon Jovi. And he's like, what's 1983? Done. And then he cannot do it. And we all know that Dean would be able to do this.
Yeah. So. The only one he could remember at least he could remember John Bon Jovi, and that was it. But he can remember what a gun and coat is, but not a lamp. So Sam starts mementoing everything and putting Post-its like all over things. So he puts it on one that says lamp, and that lamp is also a floor lamp that is mid-height, the height of your sofa. And this week was the first time I learned that they made floor lamps in that height. Yeah. My mind was blown, and it was in this episode. It was like, what the fuck? I just learned that floor lamp existed. Mind blown again. But also, according to this, it is lamp. So we go from lamp to a server room.
Yeah, where Rowena is playing poker and appears to be losing. And she is then obviously using her cheats of magic because she has won 6 times in a row as her beginner's luck. And her phone rings, and it is Sam calling Rowena. And we know that's a big deal. And Dean's super annoyed about this, but he's also very excited when he finds mini bottles of vodka in the fridge, which is definitely not what he needs right now.
Yeah, and as Rowena is talking shit to Sam, it's really cute. She wants to know if she's in her contacts and if she has her own ringtone, which is kind of adorable. And I do like to imagine Sam saving Rowena's phone number in his phone and what he does. So she's trying to figure out what's going on with Dean over the phone. And she's like, so has his body hair fallen out? Because that could be an obliviate spell, but those are really intricate. Mm-hmm. And Sam wants to know how to cure that. And she's like, theoretically, just kill the witch. And so he does not wait for the rest of it and just hangs up.
Yeah. And then he looks up and Dean has left the room. He is not there. And so Sam is like, oh no, because Dean's very confused and he's running around looking for him, but he immediately goes upstairs to look for him. I think it was for a better vantage point, but it still seems like a weird first choice to go look for somebody. Anyways, but he does find Dean.
Yeah, that was strange. Like, but he does, but I guess it was a motel and not really a place to, okay, sure. And he finds Dean trying to get in someone else's room with an ice bucket. And I'm like, oh, never done that. But clearly that hasn't been me like banging on the hotel room going, why won't my key work? And then going downstairs and being very upset and then realizing I was at the wrong room the whole time. And someone was terrified that my drunk ass was on the other side of the door trying to get in probably.
Oopsies. Well, they have decided that they need to retrace Dean's steps. So they go back to Gilman Gilbert and Sons Wealth Management, which is where Barry worked, and because that's where they were yesterday before this happened. And they're retracing his steps, and he is excited to steal a fancy cigar from Mr. Gilman's cigar box or humidor on his desk. Calls it a douche tax, and Sam's like, "You did that yesterday too." And he doesn't remember doing that. But they're looking at all these pictures on the wall, and there's one of like, is it John Kerry in one of them? And then there's some other dude, but it's the witch from the woods is one of the other people in the photos. So,
and we recognize him, but Dean does not.
He does not. And so apparently Dean had gone out for a burger while Sam was looking at lore, and that's what happened. So they're like, all right, fine. There can't be that many burger joints in this town. Let's go scope them all out. And they end up at the Pickle Jack Shack. It is their third stop, and it has a mechanical bull.
I don't think you should call any place the Jack Shack. It just seems like a bad choice of words.
It does. And they recognize the chick that slapped Dean at the waffle place at Waldo's Waffles, and she wants a fucking apology. She is a bartender waitress there, and she's pissed. And they're like, "Oh, Sam's like, no, we're FBI agents, Moon and Entwistle," which is from The Who. And she's like, "Oh yeah, last night you claimed your name was Springsteen." And so she's just really not buying that he's forgot anything, or that he was in there implying that they're saying that he was drugged because that's easier to explain. And she's not really buying that at all. Until it like goes on, and finally she's like, "Oh shit! Like I didn't do it." So
yeah, but we do find out what Dean did last night. Yeah, so he ordered food to go, then 4 shots of tequila, put on some sick jams on the juke, and then he hit the bull. And we want to know how he was. He was amazing. And
the bull's name is Larry.
And so when she realizes that she thinks he really does think that he was roofie, she's apologizing and she's so sorry she took advantage of him. And of course, you can watch our security camera footage.
Mm-hmm. And so she goes to get that access, and Dean's just really annoyed that he doesn't remember the first action he's gotten in a long time, because apparently they like made out and they were supposed to meet up later, and it didn't, and he no-showed her, and that's why she was pissed. So we see on the camera footage, Dean, like some guy walks outside, like it looks like a back entrance, I guess, and Dean follows him out, and they're exchange some words. Dean tries really hard to read his own lips, and then they realize that Dean can't lip read. It's a really
but when he tries to read, he thinks he says, "Now salsa, you mittens," and that is not. But he can see himself get flung on the tape, and he thinks it's like watching himself on Netflix until they take you off of there. And so Sam recognizes the guy from the wall, at least. So at least one of them recognizes him.
Yes, and then we see that Dean shot at the guy. And they're like, "Oh shit!" So they go outside to investigate this spot, and because Sam is going to stand there and recreate, because they find the shell casing on the ground, and they're looking, and da-da-da. And Sam's like, "Oh, we must be going that way. It was a witch killing bullet, blah blah blah." And Dean goes all blurry again, where he's having trouble remembering or understanding what's happening, and immediately asks, "Wait, there are witches?" Whoa. So, and Sam's like, "Yes, there's vampires, werewolves, witches, and they're all real, and we kill them."
Yeah. So after Sam explains the premise of the show to Dean, who thinks it's awesome, Dean finds a flashlight, and it makes him happy. He also learns that gens don't grant wishes, and sirens aren't all hot chicks. Mm-mm. And Sam just can't believe that he is the one who is giving Dean the talk. And Dean's just like, "It's the best job ever, and we sound like heroes."
And Sam's like, I don't know about all that. He's like, we're best friends with an angel. And then they find and they've walked to the woods at this point, and they have found a bloody handprint on a tree. And they find that there's a sigil on the next tree, and that's, yeah. Anyways.
And Dean finds the body, and it's the witch. And so, but wait a minute, that wasn't that supposed to be the cure, was to kill the witch. So why isn't Dean being any better?
Which is not good. So we cut to a blonde woman and another dude who we find out his name is Boyd. And they have now discovered the dead witch in the woods because Sam and Dean left, clearly. And they're mad, and they know that.
And they just left the body there.
Yeah, they just left the body there, which is weird for Sam and Dean. I don't know. I guess not. I don't know.
It depends. So, I mean, it's still, I don't think it's really good for covering your tracks to just go and like leave corpses around.
Probably not ideal.
It's better than burning them. But, you know, like they make choices.
They do make weird choices sometimes. And so they assume it was hunters. They know that that's probably what it was. So, the Boyd's like, this is why he told us to leave and to the accountant alone. We weren't supposed to fuck with the accountant. And she's like, that tub of guts stole from us. Meh. So she's all vengeful. So we now know that these two killed the accountant, which is how this all started. And he's like, look, we need to go on the run. And she's like, no, we're not doing that. I want my family back. So back at the motel, who arrives but Rowena? And Sam's like, what? I didn't want a house call. And Dean's like, I don't know you, but your hair is bouncy.
Yes, and she wants to know if they have to fix him, and she really likes this Dean. And we find out that the glyphs he found on that tree were an archaic form of Celtic Ogam. That's what most ancient forms of Celtic sound like. I'm sure. You can look at my ancestry DNA. I'm Celtic. I can pronounce it. Yeah. So it was an alpha, which basically translates to alphabet tree, and it was an old Irish Irish language. It means language of the trees. And so it's also because the letters look like trees. So when you look at them, they look like sticks.
Oh, neat.
And also they were written on trees, like they were in here, which is also, if you think about it, it's really hard to write on a tree.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's like, okay, yeah. The first dude was Gideon Laughlin. That's the guy that died. And she's like, yeah, his family turned like this small town into their own little fiefdom when they immigrated here. There's 3 rotten children, and they have a really powerful spell book called the Black Grimoire. And it's Catriona, Boyd, and Gideon. So now we know Gideon's the dead one, and that means there's 2 more. And basically, witches would travel to study this grimoire, and they would,
Which sounds awesome. Like, so you had to go to this town on the Mississippi Delta. Like, you had to go to a swamp and to go learn some druidic magic. Like, sign me up for this retreat. Like, is this inclusive? Let's go. So, but unfortunately, hunters were just like, oh wait, all these witchers are coming here. Let's just take them out, because you just like kept showing up to the same place. Look, guys, okay, that's a little dumb. But so she heard 1 or 2 of them still existed, but thought it was just gossip.
Mm-hmm. But she needs that book to be able to undo this. That's all it comes down to. And so it would just take too much time. I need time with it. And that's all there should, because otherwise Dean's going to forget everything. Not only people he knows and people he loves, but eventually he will forget how to speak and to swallow, to the point where his people die.
Sucks for that guy.
That's awful. Yeah. So Sam and Dean go have a meeting in the bathroom.
Where have a BM in the bathroom.
Oh gosh. And Dean's like, wait, I'm really kind of like, he's kind of upset. He's like, after everything, this is what's gonna kill me. And
right? Like, this is what takes me out. Fuck that.
Yeah. But he said he can also feel it slipping away. And Sam's like, no, we're gonna figure it out, but I'm gonna leave you here alone in the bathroom about it. Which is,
yeah, this sounds like a great idea. Like, you're freaking out, and I'm just gonna leave you here staring alone with your thoughts.
Yeah, weird. And he washes his face, and he's talking to himself in the mirror. We're trying to repeat things to help himself remember. And it's very distressing to watch. And at this point, Sam has gone out to talk to Rowena, and he's pieced together that the angle here, she's figured out that this grimoire is attached to this situation, and it's her chance to get her hands on the grimoire.
Duh.
Yeah, she's got an ulterior motive.
What's wrong with that? And did you see how amazing her makeup looks? So she's looking great. And then we go back to the bathroom where Dean is just having problems remembering his name. It's just getting more and more distressing.
It's very upsetting.
And outside that, though, Sam doesn't want to take Rowena with him and wants her to stay there with Dean.
Because Dean can't go with him either.
Yeah, because you can't leave Dean by himself. And so Rowena tries explaining, like, hey, it's all written in ancient Druid.
So you kind of need me there.
Yeah, and he was like, I'll use one of the Laughlins to do it, to translate. And she's like, yeah, they're going to be like, you killed my brother, and I'll translate my ancient family book. Here you go. They'd rather use your skin for an outfit. Then he whips out his gun and is like, they can try. And Rowena has like the most epic eye roll ever. It's just like, her eyes are just like,
and all the way back in her head on that one. All the way back in her head on that one. But we cut to Sam driving away. And Rowena is setting up all her witchy stuff in the motel while Dean fidgets with all of it, driving her nuts. So she gives him a voodoo doll to entertain himself with.
Yeah, and we never learn who this voodoo doll is of. No. And Dean is just sitting there with Penge, just like, boop, 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 just poking away on the voodoo doll. So we don't know, like, if he's actually, like, just, like, shoving pins into somebody. And knowing Rowena, he probably is. And so she wants to tell him a story about a beautiful witch. She was once again run out of her homeland by self-righteous, murderous hooligans, those British men of letters. And I just sounded like sort of like Lucky Charms. I mean, which is, more Irish than Scottish, but it was close. So
that's all right.
We're going to talk about a story about a beautiful witch. I don't know if she's a beautiful witch because there were wood carvings of this woman, but she was alive in the medieval ages, so maybe. So this is lore. Technically not medieval time, Elizabethan times. Okay. So people during the Elizabethan times accepted witchcraft as a fact of life. Storm knock over your armada, witches. Your neighbor's crop fail, witches. Additionally, Queen Elizabeth's revision of King Henry VII's Witchcraft Act in 1563 changed the punishment for practicing witchcraft. While the original law had made all witchcraft punishable by death, this new revision meant that those practicing witchcraft who did not commit murder would be imprisoned rather than executed. So if your satanic ways got your neighbor's cow sick, you wouldn't die, just go to prison for a year or so. The penalty for killing someone or destroying them would still be the death sentence. 3 years later, 3 women in Essex would stand trial for witchcraft. Agnes Mother Waterhouse, her sister Elizabeth Frances, and her daughter Joan. Agnes was in her 40s. Joan was 18. And I'm not sure of Elizabeth's age. I think she was older than Agnes just based on the way she talks. So the 1566 trial was held in Chelmsford during the Midsummer Assizes. Now, if you read that word, it says assize. It is ASSIZES. So this is assize. So twice a year, the judges from London's top courts traveled to the larger towns in England and Wales to hold assize courts. I know that's not how you say it. I don't care. Initially, they dealt with just property law, but expanded to include criminal charges as well, including homicide, theft, highway robbery, rape, assault, coining, forgery, witchcraft, trespass, vagrancy, recusancy, which are those who remained loyal to the Catholic Church and refused to go to the Church of England's Protestant services, and infanticide, which I wonder why they made that separate than homicide, but they did specifically put that one in there. Okay. I'm also not sure what coinage was. I think that maybe like counterfeiting.
I think so. I'm not sure offhand.
No. So she had some people present at the trial, including Dr. Cole, Reverend Thomas Cole, Sir John Fortescue, who was keeper of the Great Wardrobe. That used to be a job. The Queen's attorney and Justice of the Queen's Bench were also present. So these were all people that were known at Queen Elizabeth's court. So they come down to Essex from London to go have this trial. And this trial is particularly notable because it is the first documented in a witch chat book. Chat books were inexpensive pamphlets that were available to the masses, kind of those first things that were getting mass printed on printing presses. And they kind of served as newspapers. And
the original zine, if you will.
Kind of like a zine, yeah. And those on witches serve as some of the best documentation we have for the witch trials, but they were also pretty sensational. So the chat book for this, which is... The Examination and Confession of Certain Witches at Chelmsford in the County of Essex before the Queen's Majesty's Judges the 26th day of July, anno 1566. Banger of a title. I think they just knocked that one right out. So This is not necessarily the most accurate version of the trial, and they do have transcripts, like there's stuff from the assizes, so we know some of the stuff that I'm about to tell you isn't true. But this is the version that becomes most known to the public. Mm-hmm. The author's moral attitudes are going to be plainly evident, and the content, like I said, was highly sensational because it was meant to be read by the masses. They wanted to really read about cool witches, right? And we're going to talk through the confessions that are in this pamphlet, and I will attempt to interpret the Old English as best I can.
God bless you. So
we start off with Elizabeth's confession. So Elizabeth Frances' confession was first. She confessed to learning witchcraft from her grandmother Eve at the age of 12. Eve taught her to renounce God and to give her blood to Sathan. Sathan was the white-spotted cat her grandmother gave her. She told her to feed it bread, milk, and blood.
Oh, her cat?
The cat named Sathan. Okay. So Elizabeth told the cat she desired riches, and he said in a deep, hollow voice, she should get things. What would she like? And so she asked for sheep. I guess that could be useful. He brought 18 black and white sheep into her pasture. They were with her for a while, but eventually left. I'm not sure if they magically vanished or just got bored, if she was just a bad shepherdess. She didn't ask for those skills. This was unclear. So every time that Sathan did anything for Elizabeth, she required a drop of blood, which she got by pricking herself. Now, if you have a cat, you know this is true. So Elizabeth wanted to have Andrew Biles for a husband. He was a man of some wealth, and the cat agreed that she should have him. But first she must consent to Andrew abusing her, and so she did. Now, I believe abuse to be Elizabethan for to have sex with and not the modern usage, but they also beat women all the time back then, so who knows. And so Andrew abused her but did not marry her, so she willed Sathan to waste his goods, and then not being content when that was successful, she willed Sathan to touch his body, and Andrew died. So Andrew was dead and Elizabeth was pregnant. She willed Sathan to end the pregnancy, and he told her to take certain herbs and drink them, and when she did, the pregnancy was terminated. Elizabeth wanted another husband. Sathan again agreed, and this time she became Elizabeth Frances. She had to consent with fornicating with Mr. Frances, and that's why her daughter was conceived within a quarter year after they were married. See if that makes sense to you as something to note, because that seems like it's very reasonable within a time frame.
That seems very reasonable, yeah.
So anyhow, things were as quiet as Elizabeth wanted. So she willed Sathan to kill her 6-month-old child.
Oh, no.
Extreme. Still not satisfied with the noise level, she wanted Sathan to take care of Mr. Frances, and so it hid in his shoe so that when he touched it with his foot, he was forever lame. Somehow I think the killing your 6-month-old child was worse, and it seems like a self-punishment to make your husband lame, like he's ever going to get up from his chair again.
Right.
Like you're going to have to do fucking everything.
You think things aren't quiet enough, and now you're going to have a man that can't get up you're going to help take care of? Ma'am, things will not be quieter.
I don't think you made a wise choice there. But she did keep the cat for 15 to 16 years. When she had had enough, she traded it to Mother Waterhouse for some cake. Not sure what kind of cake, and I feel like this is an important detail. But she brought the cat over in her apron and passed on what she had learned. Feed the cat milk, bread, and blood, and call it Sathan. So Mother Waterhouse's confession. So after she got Sathan, Mother Waterhouse wanted to test out what the familiar could do. So she had him kill one of her pigs. Again, that does not seem like it's self-serving.
No.
You killed one of your own pigs. So for his work, she gave him a chicken and a drop of her blood. She fed him blood by pricking her hand or face and putting the blood to his mouth while he sucked.
Why her face?
I don't know, but if you look at my head, in the middle of my forehead, you can see the line of blood that my cat drew last night as she sat there plucking my forehead. So cats let us suck blood out of your face. It's just what they do. No. So anytime that she would will him to do anything for her, besides the blood, she would say the Our Father in Latin. Mother Waterhouse confessed that she had a falling out with the widow G'day, and she willed Sathan to drown her, and so he did. And she rewarded him as before. The next falling out with a neighbor ended with 3 dead geese. Then there was some stuff with some beer and some butter, and she's just kind of all over the place with the intensity of the cursing, like drowning versus ruining someone's beer. I guess like maybe her neighbors were pissing her off in different ways. Like one is like just playing the music too loud. One is like banging her husband or something, right? So those are just gonna be different things. So, but she also wanted her husband to die. And so he did slowly over 4 years. But she has been a widow ever since. And then she decided that she wanted to use the wool the cat was using to sleep on, so she turned the cat into a toad by praying the Our Father in Latin. So now Sathan is a toad. So the toad warned her that she was going to be apprehended and that she was going to either be hanged or burned shortly. But that was all she was going to say at this time. So that was Mother Elizabeth's confession. Now her daughter Ione's confession. So she said that last winter, her mother wanted her to learn witchcraft, but she didn't. She just didn't really care to. She saw the toad in her mother's hand once, though, and heard it call it Sathan, but she was never really taught anything about witchcraft, nor did she practice any. She confessed that once, though, when her mother went out of town, she lacked bread and went to a neighbor's child who denied her the snacks she requested, or at least not so much to satisfy her. So I think like she went over to her neighbor's house to get food, and they didn't give her enough food. So
they gave her some, but not as much as she wanted. And she's like, ugh.
So she goes back home and she remembers her mom calling Sathan. And so she calls Sathan, and Sathan comes to her, but not in the form of a toad. Sathan is now a dog. And when asked what she wanted, she said she wanted to make the girl afraid. And for that, she said she would give him a red cock. He said no, he wanted none of that. He wanted her body and soul. And then he turned into a dog with horns on his head, and this freaked her out to this very day, and she never messed with witchcraft again. And that was one of the confessions. So these go on a little while longer, so ends up with Elizabeth Frances escapes the death sentence this time, maybe by turning state's evidence, or maybe she had friends in high places. I mean, she confessed to killing a bunch of people in this thing, but her reputation never does recover. And 13 years later, she was tried again and hanged. Ione, or Joan, I don't know, I just call her, so the modern version of that would be Joan. Joan was found not guilty, and her mom, however, was executed on hanging July 29th, 1566, 2 days after this trial ended. This is often said to be the first witch executed in England, but executions for witchcraft had occurred before. They were just generally under the terms hearsay or treason. But so the other witches had been executed and burned at the stake and whatever, but not necessarily this specific law. This was the first time after. So anyways, so that's the story of the Waterhouse and Frances's and their familiars, Sathan the cat, the toad, and the dog.
What?
Isn't that wild?
That is wild. Wild.
Yeah, what a lovely story of a poor witch who was burned. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the story Rowena is telling back in our land is all about this poor little witch who just wanted a roof over her head and a place to do her magic, but they threw her out like common trash.
Mm-hmm. And told her she wasn't up to snuff. And Dean's like, they sound like dicks. You've got plenty of snuff. So he was intuitive enough to understand that the story was about her, but not much else. And she's very amused, but says that and comments that it's a gift to not remember the things that you've done.
No shit, man. I mean, I'm not saying I want you to totally eternal sunshine mind of me, but there is part of it, and we'll get you. It's like, that seems kind of nice not to get rid of that trauma the easy way. But then she tells him what he is, and she tells him, Dean Winchester, you're a killer. I don't know why I just said it in that accent. I'm so sorry.
I don't know. All I can hear is Edward Cullen. I'm a killer, Bella. Anyways.
Eat your baby.
No, not that. Not yet. This is the first movie. Anyways,
I know.
This is the skin of a killer.
I always just skip to the eating your stomach because inevitably that's how it all ends.
It does.
So we go to the Laughlins, where Sam has just pulled that large gun on a guard. This just seems like a very obnoxiously large gun for these bullets, but.
Yeah, it does. But he asked the guard how many people are inside. And I get the impression the guard lied, but that's a different conversation because they don't really tell you. So we go back to the motel where Dean is like, wait, kill people? And Rowena's like, yeah, scores, but it's always for the greater good. And Dean's like, does that make it okay? And she's like, well, you help others. And she's like, but I've done horrible things just for the price of power. If even God and his sister squabble so much and they can't be happy, is there even hope for me?
Damn. And that's like a hardcore thing for someone to admit.
Yeah. So we're seeing a side of Rowena that we've never seen.
And also something that like makes it for me, it was like, oh man, like it was all about power. And then I saw the two most powerful beings in the universe, and even they aren't fucking happy. So, or even satisfied. Yeah. So what does that say about power? What does she want? Why is she telling Dean all this? And it's only because he won't remember.
She can finally say it to somebody and it won't be. Anyways.
And Rowena was lonely.
Yeah, so Sam calls, and he is inside the house on speakerphone with his gun out so that she can hear what's happening. And this also seems like not the best plan.
This is stupid. He calls her, puts her on speakerphone, and shushes her. There's a mute button, Sam. I know it's 2017, but we have invented the mute button.
Yes. So we've got our Catriona is in a room, and she has it has a word, and I can't think of it now. I feel stupid, but it's a frame of dead bugs, and she's got a giant
blue butterfly specimen that she is mounting.
Yes, and her dead brother is laying on a table next to her. So Sam comes in, and he's like, "Oh, I've got witch killing bullets. I need the counter spell." And she's like, look, I knew you'd come. I'm totally unconcerned with you being here, because Boyd comes in and flings Sam across the room. And
I mean, I think, in terms of things of who maybe like out Winchestered, like you just walked into a very powerful family of witches without any plan. But no, of course you're a Winchester. So she says a spell and her bugs start flapping, and the sound makes Sam's ears bleed while she just does an amazing cackle.
Yeah. Well, all of a sudden we have Dean waking up inside Baby in the woods. And there is a piece of paper taped to the windshield. And it just says, your brother's been captured by a witch.
I found your stupid car and left you here.
Yeah. And then on the door, it says stay, to try to get him to stay in the car.
No. So Sam has been tied up, and Boyd and Catriona, or where the fuck you say her name, are arguing about getting their brother killed. And she says they can bring him back, but she doesn't want to get her hands dirty, and she gives Boyd the knife and asks him to do it for her.
But and she's like, what, you do the spell. And so Rowena has entered, and she is in the foyer, and Catriona greets her, kind of, and Rowena introduces herself, but and back in the other room, Sam's trying to untie himself as he wakes up, and he's like, your sister's plan sucks. This is not going to work. And he's like, we're going to swap your souls. Sorry.
Yeah, so although like I don't know, they really thought about trying to get Sam Winchester's soul to somebody. That doesn't seem like a good idea.
Dicey.
So that's what we find out the plan is, and then this cunt of a witch just starts calling Rowena Raggedy Ann, and just starts hardcore like going at her, and just like, so I remember when you came here as little rag doll, you're all beggar, like you offered yourself up to all of us. But Rowena is just like, nothing heals old wounds like opening fresh ones. Boom!
Flings her across the room. So Dean does not stay in the car as instructed, as shocking none of us. And he goes to trunk. We get a trunk moment. We get a really good trunk moment here, actually, because even underneath, when he opens it, obviously things are covered, and it says, "Open me." And inside, there's another note says on the grenade launcher, says, no.
No.
But the witch killing bullets and the appropriate gun for them are labeled.
Yeah.
Which is helpful.
It is helpful, although I would say maybe put the bullets in the magazine and put them inside a gun, and that way you don't have to worry about this. But, you know, or have your witch killing kit prepared, which you can buy at devilstrapodcast.com. You buy your Devil's Trap Podcast themed witch killing kits. Put them in your trunk. All right. So,
Rowena and Catriona are fighting. They are fighting. Rowena's losing. It's bad. Both are covered in blood. And she's, you know, singing creepily about how she's going to kill Rowena.
I think it was the actual Raggedy Ann song.
I think so,
maybe. Yeah. And then she took it and made it worse and made it to be about Rowena. And it was just mean. She's just mean girling.
But Dean's there. And at first she's like super unconcerned, even though he says he's witch killing bullets. But he shoots her. And Rowena falls to the floor because it worked. Then Boyd is distracted by this noise, obviously, which gives Sam an opportunity to escape. Boyd runs out on the down the stairs also, as does Sam, and Dean does not know which one to shoot. And so Sam has to be like, point, like, me brother, him witch, like, bad guy. So Dean shoots Boyd and shrugs.
Thankfully, he shot the right witch, and we get a thumb up. So we don't really get to see the magic getting reversed. We just get to see like Sam laying downstairs and purple magic going upstairs.
Yes, there's purple magic light happening, and Dean and Rowena come down the stairs, and they definitely very meanly prank Sam about this, like that it didn't work.
Who's this hippie though? I like that we get a knock on Sam's hair. Anytime we can make fun of Sam's hair, I like it. And they also like, I also like the line that his face looks like the time that he ate all his Halloween candy. It was also good. So Rowena is leaving, and she is trying to take the book with her.
Yeah. And so but as she's leaving, if she tells Dean if he ends up remembering any of their conversations, he should let her know. But Sam is not going to let her leave with the grimoire. But he does acknowledge that they owe her a small one in the future. And she leaves in her taxi.
Yeah, and she reluctantly gives him the book. Damn it, I think I would have let her keep it. But anyway, so cab goes off, and now Sam wants to know how Dean is holding up.
And he admits that spell kicked his ass. It really fucked with him. But Sam's like, I'm a little jealous. We wouldn't have the weight of all. You seem really happy. You didn't have the weight of all the things we've done and have gone through. And Dean's like, yeah, that's true. It was nice to drop all that baggage from it, but I lost everything, including who we are and what we do. I'll pass on that.
Yeah, it's just like it was being happy. That's not worth the cost.
Yeah, and so they get in, baby. And then we get a montage of Dean's epic night that he didn't remember, basically.
Yeah, we see him riding Larry.
Yes, and we've got Broomstick Cowboy by Bobby Goldsboro playing for this whole thing. But he's riding Larry, and it keeps going back to that. We see him get slapped. We see him watching Scooby-Doo, and we see mini bottles of vodka and Rowena. But that's our little
his nose boot for Rowena. The song scares me.
That's a weird song.
I don't like it. It just kind of, I feel like this, like if I was trapped in a basement in the 70s and a serial killer was coming
That's the
after
song?
me, this is the song that would be playing.
Noted. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
so do we learn about anything about these witches?
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
yeah, there's a little bit. Rowena was played by Tira Dent. She's been in a few things, including episodes of Arrow. And then Gideon was played by Justin Turnbull. He's been in episodes of iZombie and The Magicians. And then Boyd was played by Vincent Gale, and he's been in Supernatural a few times, and he's been also in episodes of MacGyver, 21 Jump Street, Painkiller Jane, 4400, Fringe, a handful of episodes of The Bates Motel, Arrow, Travelers, Supergirl, and a couple episodes of Dead Boy Detectives. Additionally, he was George in True Heart, Chris in Strange Frequency films 1 and 2, Duncan in the X-Men Evolution series as a voice actor, Flesh in Van Helsing for several dozen episodes, Robert in Snowpiercer for 8 episodes. He was Boss in The Fall of the House of Usher recently, and has been most recently the Assistant Commissioner Campbell in Allegiance for a dozen episodes. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, so as like, and you know, we tried to make this as not of a bummer of our episode as possible. But the topic itself is not
very difficult.
It's a very difficult one. It's something that's very relatable to anybody who's seen people go through that sort of memory loss. And it's just like, I don't want to think about that. That sucks. That's too real lifey. But it was made enjoyable in the way, you know, because seeing the weight lifted off Dean does give you that playful side of Dean, and just kind of gives you like this, I don't know, it's like this refreshing, getting kind of see this refreshing joy, and a little less of all the gears of hunting bringing him down, you know, the super broody Gene. Yeah. And so, you know, I think that lightened up the episode.
Yes.
And it also it lightened up Dean. So maybe if he can keep some of those, like that memory too, which would be nice to bring them through. So that's kind of nice. And Rowena was just delightful in this episode.
She really
not
was.
that she isn't normally, but this is a good episode for her, I think.
I agree. I think, I think that they did it the best, you know. I hope that the writers thought about that when they did this. I mean, I'm not going to say that
Of course they didn't. They went out, shit to the wall.
Well, no, but I mean, like, to be doing an episode like that, it can be really dark and heavy, and they did it in a way, and I think it carries the character forwards. And this is probably my most, I know, I find Rowena meaner than you do. You like her more typically, but this was a super endearing episode of her. I'm not saying I don't like her,
also,
but
like I know, but I also know, like, I carry three more seasons of Rowena in my heart, in my head. So I know where she goes and what she does. So like, you were growing to love her, and I have already loved her. Yeah. So.
No, so like, I really appreciated that.
And even though I'm no longer a redhead, shockingly, I identify with the 5 foot tall redhead. Like, what? You know, the redhead witch. So, you know, it's so I enjoy the Rowena episode, and you know, obviously we get some more of those to come. And it was an awful subject, but I'm not upset in the way that it was dealt with.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. So on that note, cheers, Dirk.
Cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Get It production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
where I'm gonna go.